All right, good morning, traders. It's October 17th, 2025. My name is John Kerrigan. I am the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody out there in podcast land, digital land, cyberland. Thank you so much for following the content, subscribing to the content, liking the content, sharing the content. Special shout out Bob Jordan, John Jordan, Kathy, Sarah Roasted for sharing the content, helping get the good word out there to the rest of the world. Appreciate that, love that. Like to grow this room. All right, so thank you, everybody, even my paying subscribers. Thank you so much. All right, let's drill down. Let's see what we happened yesterday. See how we can prepare ourselves for today. All right, so my SPY pivot this morning, 663.70. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Silver and gold made new all-time highs yesterday. UNG, that'd be natural gas, made a new all-time low. SPY and Diamond Dow made lower highs and lower lows, closing underneath bearish traps under their 17 EMAs. IWM made a lower high and a lower low, closing under a bearish trap but under the 17 EMA. FNGU QQQ made outside days, closing under bearish traps under their 17 EMAs. SPY closed with a 2-hour downtrend on a week, one candle 10-minute uptrend. USO in a daily downtrend made a lower high and a lower low, closing under a bearish trap under the 17 and in the bearish territory. Again, UNG made a new all-time low. U.S. dollar index remains in an uptrend, closed near the 98.26 area. SPY max pain is 657 today with a put to call ratio of about 3 puts to each call that expires today. A little bit of a put squeeze on the table. We'll see what market makers want to do with that. These are the bulls down here. These are the bears over here. These are in daily uptrends over the 17 EMA. These are in daily downtrends under the 17 EMA right there. If you're looking to have a delta neutral portfolio or brokerage account or whatever, IRA account, you know, having some of each on each side helps some. When the market dips, you get some activity from the bearish side. When the market rallies, you get some activity from the bullish side. All right, so that's why I provide both. Okay, let's take a look at today. Let's take that. Don't need that anymore. 10-minute chart, SPY. All right, so yesterday I said we're going to probably buy the pick off the lows of the 10-minute candles. We got a very weak rally, like almost couldn't break the rubber band candle up here. So failed to break the rubber band candle. Price got recalled back to VWAP. That's the point of interest. And then, of course, we commenced a 10-minute downtrend that got closed out here and then commenced another 10-minute downtrend. And then that ended right about here, okay? And then another little downtrend right there. And then we started our 10-minute uptrend right here. You can see the 3 EMA is up on top of the 8 EMA along with the candle. So it's a one candle 10-minute uptrend coming into the close. All in all, it's under VWAP there, okay? So there's SPY on the 10-minute chart. On the 2-hour chart, all right, we can see the 3 and the candlesticks are underneath the 8 EMA. That's the white line. So we have a 2-hour downtrend coming into the close. Let's visit the daily chart. All right, on the daily chart, we have a lower high, lower low, closed under a bearish trap because the 3 is under the 8, closed under a bearish trap. See the dots? That's the 17 EMA, closed under the 17 EMA. So a little bit of a weakness there on SPY on the daily chart as well. Okay, got a big red candle, got no follow through, or they attempted to give us follow through on not the second day but the third day right here, and they failed to make a lower low. Price action probably should go back up and check the highs. All right, so here's a visit back up to the highs. Kind of a failure to make a higher high, so price came back down and checked the midpoint down here. So that's where we are right now. So we'll see what happens, what they want to do, if they're going to roll over one more time, or if they're going to head back up there and recheck those highs. So there's SPY on the daily chart. Okay, on the 10-minute chart, we'll look at price action here. Okay, you got a bearish head and shoulders kind of showing up here. This being the head, right shoulder, left shoulder. If we happen to break this neckline, I can see price probably coming down to probably 650 area. All right, on this head and shoulders pattern right through here. So we'll see what happens with that. We have a higher low here from this point, but a lower low from these two advantage points. So we'll see what happens. They're kind of in a flaky area, and we've got some conflicting data with not really conflicting data, but conflicting price action, in that the large caps seem to be kind of melting off their highs, whereas small caps and mid caps are still quite bullish at this time. So there's SPY. Let's take a look at the game plan. And here we are with the game plan. Again, the pivot, 663.75. Red erases green underneath, 657.80. Green erases red over 668. I like 7 days and 14 days till expiration. Friday options on the multiple of 5. I trade strikes $2 to $15 out of the money. I trade 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. I trade 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. My favorite trade is the 10-minute uptrend that resides inside the 2-hour uptrend, that resides inside the daily uptrend, that resides inside the weekly and the monthly uptrends. Okay, so right now we don't have a daily uptrend, but we got a daily downtrend that's not moving down. All right. We got a 2-hour downtrend, so that doesn't quite fit it, but they could change that if they wish to. We'll see what happens with that. And what else do I like? I like it when all of that is over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, so I like it when the 10-minute uptrend and the 2-hour uptrend and the daily uptrend are all above that all-time high anchored VWAP. So here we are with the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's this purple line right here, and you can see price action. We left off yesterday underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, preferably to have it all up over here. Okay, up over 663.75. That would be preferable. We'll see what they want to do this morning. Right now, kind of hovering around 660. All right, so there's SPY. Let's take a look at the pre-market. All right, with the 10-minute on, see how we're going to trade this. I'm going to take some of this stuff off. Okay. So what we got is consolidation, and then we've got a little bit of consolidation underneath it. Okay. If they can break through this resistance overhead, all right, and hold the higher ground, that would be bullish for me. For right now, my bias is going to be bearish based on what I'm looking at right now, because we got consolidation underneath consolidation over here. But if they can get above 661, 660, 70 and hold that higher ground up there, preferably up over the all-time high anchored VWAP, that would be wonderful as well. If they can get up there and hold that higher ground, I could be bullish. If that doesn't happen, I'm going to continue to remain bearish on the short time frame. All right, so there's the 10-minute chart, and you can see we have a 10-minute uptrend, okay, coming into the open. So I'm going to look for a continuation of the 10-minute uptrend. That's my plan this morning. Going to box off the first 15 minutes. All right, I'm going to have to recognize that there may be a ceiling right here at VWAP. Right here, I don't know where we're going to open up. There may be a ceiling once we get to gap fill. Maybe the ceiling is at VWAP right there. You can see where VWAP left off yesterday. If we can get over those two and hold that higher ground, there is hope for the bulls. If not, I see us meandering around and chopping around inside between 660 and 650 today, unless we can get on top of the gap fill and the all-time high anchored VWAP. If we can get over those, I see hope for the bulls. If not, probably going to remain bearish. So, or choppy. Probably going to be choppy. All right. So there's the 10-minute chart. There's the game plan. Again, I'm going to mark off the first 15 minutes. All right, of price action and look for the breakout. Okay. Remember, if the first 15 minutes happens to occur right here. All right, and notice a breakout would be on the top side. Okay, you got gap fill right there. It's possibility they just give you a one candle breakout, hit the gap fill, and then it's oftentimes they'll run back and test the opening range low after hitting the gap fills. So once you get up there, if we do break out and hit the gap fill, there's a chance they race back all the way to the opening range low. All right, and test that to see if that's going to hold. And there's no guarantee that that holds. All right, but if it does hold, look for a revisit of another breakout and probably test the gap fill up here. That would be yesterday's close. So there's SPY. That's the game plan for both SPY and, of course, QQQ. Same thing. I want to see gap fill for QQQ. And I want to see us get up over VWAP right here. So I'll draw a line right there. Okay. If they can get above those two, there's hope for the bulls. If not, probably going to be choppy or be bearish to the downside on both QQQ and SPY. We'll see what they want to do this morning. We'll see what kind of data comes out, what kind of news comes out. And maybe there's hope for the bulls here. We'll see what happens. All right, QQQ on the daily chart. Let's take a peek at that. All right, daily chart. Let's see what the candle this is. This is today's candle. Okay, so yesterday's candle, higher low, lower high, closing under a bearish trap under the 17. Again, big red candle, no follow through. Okay, so they're still in an uptrend, top of quadrant 4. That's bullish and still in an uptrend up there on QQQ. SPY, of course. Okay, big red candle, no follow through. That's bullish up there, all right, but they're still in a downtrend technically, but here's the deal, the downtrend's not moving down. So we'll see what happens with SPY this morning. Okay, so notice we gapped down overnight and then rallied all the way back up to this area. So we'll see if they can continue with that today, all right? So there's SPY on the daily chart. Again, we're from the perspective of being up here, down here. Okay, this is bullish. Being up here at the top of quadrant 4, that would be bullish. But from the perspective of the all-time highs up there, we closed. You can see if I put the quad lines on. Okay, we closed down here near the bearish territory. Okay, if we take from the highs down to the lows, we closed in a bearish territory. Hence, that's probably why they gapped down this morning and then rallied back up. Okay, so there's SPY on the daily chart. You can see closing in the lower third from the perspective of the highs and the pullback low right here. So price action kind of bearish from that perspective. On the bigger picture, okay, still bullish up here. On the smaller time frame or the shorter time frame, got some bearish sentiment lingering in the air out there. Okay, so there's SPY. Same QQQ. I just explained that one earlier. Okay, again, QQQ a little bit stronger than SPY because it's not in a downtrend, where SPY is in a downtrend, but not notice the price candles are not moving down. All right, so let's take a look at FNGU. Actually, let's back off. Let's go visit the game plan for QQQ. All right, for QQQ, game plan, we've got pivot, 602.40. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Red erases green, under 596.60. Green erases red, over 608.20. Okay, again, I like, same thing as SPY. I like 7 days till expiration and 14 days till expiration. Friday options on the multiple of 5. for I like it for the open interest. It's a lot of open interest, a lot of liquidity. For that reason, I like those dates. All right, I'm not opposed to trading in the money. I'm not opposed to trading shorter time frames. Okay, I'm just saying as a new account holder, I like these for the safety and for the reduced risk. Okay, I like trade strikes that are $2 to $15 out of the money. I'm not opposed to trading in the money. Okay, but I trade them because they're cheaper. All right, and they offer less risk. All right, I'm not going to lose as much as I would on the in the money move. Okay, I trade 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. I trade 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. All right, especially like it when that downtrend, like we had right here, is moving down, down, and away. In other words, the space is growing between the 3, the 8, and the candles and the VWAP. All right, the space. There's a lot more daylight showing up. Okay, see how this downtrend, you're getting more and more daylight show up between the 8 EMA and the VWAP line right there. That's what I like. Okay, so today, yesterday, all right, 10-minute chart for QQQ. We closed off with, you can see right here, a 2-candle uptrend. All right, on a 2-candle uptrend coming into the close for QQQ. On the 2-hour chart, 2-hour chart was a 2-hour downtrend coming into the close. 3 EMA was down underneath the 8 on QQQ. And again, on the daily chart, we're bullish up there, top of quadrant 4, but just not moving up, okay, on the QQQ. Let's take a look at FNGU. Let's hit the daily chart. Let's back out, visit this down here. Okay, so here's FNGU. Yesterday's candle would be this one right here. Okay, we got an outside day. It's a higher high, a lower low, closing under a bearish trap under the 17 EMA. Like I said, the big caps are showing some weakness. Notice, look how far down we dipped. All right, see how we went lower this morning. Okay, so showing some weakness on the big caps. All right, but on the small caps, we're showing strength. So we got conflicting data and got conflicting signals right now, okay? So that's why I say I want to see SPY and QQQ break out over that VWAP to give me some sign that the bulls have hope. If they can't get up over yesterday, where yesterday's VWAP left off, I'm going to have to probably remain choppy or bearish on my bias for SPY and QQQ. So here's FNGU, gap down. We watch FNGU. It's got 10 of the most heavily weighted securities inside it. It's only got 10 securities, and those 10 are some of the heavyweights inside QQQ and SPY. So when they move as a pack, they can drag those two indexes right along with it. And you can see opening up this morning, they dragged both of the indexes down to some new recent lows. All right, so there's FNGU. You can see clearly FNGU on the daily chart is in a downtrend. Here's a low. We made a lower low. So we're still in a downtrend here on FNGU. And a little bit different news because they are moving down as opposed to QQQ and SPY, which are not moving down. Okay, actually FNGU is moving lower. Got a double top up here. Could be over, all right, for a while, maybe 6 months for FNGU unless they can get some good earnings somewhere and we rally back to the highs. We'll see what's going to happen. You can see price action, okay, closing in the lower third down here, okay. Let's just back this off and not include today's candle. Okay, you can see price action from the perspective of the high down to the low. We're closing in quadrant 4 because this right here, this is today's candle. So if we take that today's candle off, you can see price action closing in quadrant 4. That is a bearish bias when it's closing in quadrant 4 from the perspective of this double top high down to this low where we closed yesterday in FNGU. Now, from the bigger picture, we're still bullish on the weekly and the monthly time frames. Okay, so that's bullish up there. So, okay, in the shorter time frame, we see bearish activity developing. But in the longer time frame, we are still bullish on weekly and monthly. On the daily, all right, it's starting to develop into bigger time frames, getting more and more bearish. Okay, you can see it started with probably a 10-minute, then it transitioned to an hour. Now we've got the 2-hour. You can see in a downtrend. Now you can see clearly on the daily. All right, the candles and the 3 EMA are underneath the 8, and they're now underneath the 17. Okay, so we're getting daily downtrend developing here. We're making new lows. All right, but on the weekly chart, we're still holding up on the weekly chart. Okay, but on the daily, so things are starting to grow. The bears are starting to grow their army or their presence. All right, inside FNGU. Just want to point that out. All right, while mid caps and small caps are kind of looking bullish, some of them are falling apart though. Okay, FNGUs. Take a look at IWM on the daily chart. Okay, not this candle. This is yesterday's candle, red one right here. Okay, so lower high, lower low, closing underneath a bullish trap. Okay, over the rising 17 EMA. Top of quadrant 4. They're still bullish and in an uptrend up there. Okay, that's IWM. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. Okay, Diamond Dow, it's going to be this red candle right here. Lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap. Okay, under the bearish trap and under the 17. And you can see they're in the lower third there, so that's bearish. All right, from the perspective of this high down to this low. Okay, so there's Diamond Dow on the daily chart. Okay, from the bigger perspective, on the bigger time frame, the weekly and the monthly are still holding up as in uptrends. Okay, but they could very easily give it up if price continues to melt off and dip lower and lower. Okay, but right now on the daily chart, Diamond Dow, here's a low. They made lower lows, got a triple bottom here. They made lower lows. All right, so that puts them in a daily downtrend right now. Okay, so there we are. We're growing. We got a daily downtrend now. Will we develop into a weekly downtrend? We'll see what happens. Still up at the quadrant, still up at the top of quadrant 4. So that's neutral bullish up there. Okay, so you want to see things hold. All right, you want to see them break and start putting some candles and closings up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, that would be my trigger up there. Seeing price candle closings up over some activity over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Other than that, probably remain choppy to bearish on Diamond Dow after seeing this high right here. We'll see what happens. Okay, so let's take a look at GLD. This is going to be easy. This is yesterday's candle right here. New all-time high in gold. I think that got up, yeah, over 400. So gold, new all-time high for gold. That looks like an exhaustion candle right there. Okay, just want to point that out. SLV. Okay, SLV, new all-time high for SLV. That looks like an exhaustion candle for a temporary high, and look for a pullback, maybe some like halfway point, and look for it to J-hook or consolidate, pick up some more spinach and mustard, and then make a retest of those highs. Silver and gold making new all-time highs. UNG. Okay, UNG, this is yesterday's candle. Is you can see daylight between the prior all-time low and the price action. So new all-time low for UNG. And obviously in a downtrend and bearish at the bottom of quadrant 1. Okay, quadrant 4 would be bullish. Quadrant 1 would be bearish. In between here, in right near the center would be neutral. Upper third is bullish, lower third bearish. UNG, bearish at this time. Okay, so that's UNG. Let's take a look at USO. All right, so you can see USO closing inside the lower third. So that's bearish. And you can see USO making lower highs and lower lows. Here's a prior low, making lower lows. So they're in a downtrend and bearish on USO. All right, so definitely not ready. Still not ready yet. Maybe those EV cars are making an impact. I don't know. There's USO right there. Let's take a look at our technicals. T2101. Okay, you can see when we rallied early yesterday morning. All right, you can see that the T21 market participation dipped. All right, so we had less breath in the rally, but we had more breath, okay, more market participation in the dip. Okay, so see, we rallied in the morning and then we dipped, all right, all day long, and you can see participation grew and grew as the market breadth grew. So that's the wind in the sails of the downtrend, starting from the all-time highs, moving to the recent lows. That's what I'm speaking about. All right, I'm not speaking about the bullish uptrend that we have on the weekly and the monthly. I'm talking about the shorter time frame. This is the 15-minute T2101, measuring the absolute breadth of the market and regarding the participation, all right, of activity inside, okay, inside the price action. Okay, so there's T2122. We find ourselves the prior day on the 15th, chomping around inside the buyer's chop zone. All day we spent inside the seller's chop zone, and we knocked on the door of the sell zone, but all in all, we spent the day in the seller's chop zone, okay? Notice we made lower lows and lower highs, okay, on T2123. Okay, we were in a weak uptrend. Remember I said it looks like it's more like it's going sideways than it is moving up. And you can see right now we made a lower high and a lower low. So T2123, small cap, mid cap, down into, actually that's a full market. That's all of NYSE. It's just not, it doesn't have any weighted stocks. It's hard to understand because the SPY and the QQQ has weighted stocks. Okay, so you think that that's the market, but really this encompasses all of the NYSE, all right, which, you know, the NASDAQ and the SPY, all the securities are in the NYSE, except they're just not weighted in this measurement. They are weighted within the index, okay? So you're getting conflicting signals here if you don't understand that this is all of the NYSE, like all 12,000 securities, but nothing gets weighted, all right, like it does in SPY and QQQ. But on this one, this is speaking about the whole NYSE, and you can see as a whole, they're making lower highs and lower lows. Well, actually, they're just making lower lows, so that puts them in a downtrend right there, T2123. Again, caught underneath now a fading 200 SMA, not my favorite place to be. And they're down here, looking like they're ready to tackle these lows once more time. I thought maybe that these lows would be exhaustion candles, but it doesn't appear that the bulls are ready to make some new highs yet. We'll see. Excuse me. We'll see what happens today. Okay, seems like we're retesting this low that happened on the 14th. Seems like that's what we're doing. So we'll see what happens today. That's T2123. All right, 15-minute time frame on the 3-bar. Okay, I'm going to zoom way out. Okay, this was the April rally low right here. This was a prior all-time high, and we made new all-time highs on this rally from the April low. And you can see price action goes up to this high. So looking at it from the perspective of the April low, we're bullish up here in quadrant 4, okay? But recently, from the high down to the lows, okay, we're bearish in that we're in the lower third down here, okay? So still kind of a little bit of a bearish sentiment. You know what? It's not that bad. All right, we need a little pullback. We need a little bit of rest. You know, pick up some spinach, get some mustard, you know, and then make another trip up there. Okay, need a rest or a long period of consolidation. Maybe even consolidate for 2 or 3 months. You know, pick up some energy and then make another run at it. All right, so that's T2123. Okay, this is the 3-bar chart, we find ourselves yet again underneath the rising 200s, now looking like a flat 200, and we're still in a downtrend, okay? See the red dots? So we got red dots here. So here's a low, then we come into a lower high, because that was the all-time high, then we come into a lower high, and now we're into a lower low. So that puts us in a downtrend and in the location of under the 200, okay? And I don't mind. If they hang out down here in the upper third of this move and they want to consolidate, moving back and forth for a while, maybe 3 months, okay, in here, that would be fine with me. All right, just don't want them back at the midpoint. That's where I don't want them back at. There's T2123. That's the 3-bar chart. Okay, here's the big boys, the big caps. And let's take a look at what we got going on here. Again, we've got that double top on the 15. You can see here's the high, there's the high. And FNGU digging out some new, recent lows. We're starting to develop some consolidation, under consolidation here, showing us a little bit of some bearish sentiment before they were able to come down to this area and then rally back away from it. And now we're starting to develop some lingering price action underneath prior price action, which develops a little bit of a bearish bias or a bearish sentiment right here on FNGU, which is fine. They need to rest also, okay? And you can see them underneath the 200 SMA. Just don't want to see them all the way back at the midpoint, okay? FNGU, okay? So a little bit of a bearish bias. So getting a little bit of a bearish bias coming out of the mid caps and small caps, and you can see that on T2122, in that we're kind of lingering here on the seller's chop zone and the sell zone, and on T2123, okay, you can see us lingering here underneath, down here in quadrant 1, okay, and underneath the 200 SMA on the 3-bar chart, and T2123, okay, these are the unweighted stocks, again, down here in quadrant 1 and underneath the 200 down here. So getting a little bit of bearish sentiment, bearish bias. Not to say that the bulls could not rally this thing all the way back up to new highs, okay? But the first thing they got to do is get above VWAP in order for that to happen, all right? So that's my threshold right there. I could be bullish if I could see SPY and QQQ get on top of where yesterday's VWAP closed, all right? Until then, going to kind of remain choppy and bearish at this point. So there's T2123 and FNGU. All right, let's take a look at the economic package, and then let's get ready for the rest of the day. Okay, earnings. All right. No, we'll go ahead and do Max Payne. Okay, so Max Payne today is 657, and the put to call ratio is about 3 puts to 1 call. So we have a bit of a put squeeze that's available to us today. We'll see what happens. All right, if they want to do put squeeze or not. That is quite large, 3.0. We'll see what they wish to do. All right, so Max Payne 657, which is about $3 from where we're trading now, and the put squeeze is $3. So maybe a rip up, and then they melt off all the way until 657 into the close. We'll see what happens. That's a possible price action movement. We'll see what happens with that. Okay, on the earnings calendar. Well, yesterday, Micron reported, Taiwan Semiconductors. They're about $1.5 trillion, okay? Along with them, we had Mr. Schwab reported, $169 billion, okay? So on the 17th, today, we're going to have American Express going to report. That's $230 billion. HDFC is going to look for their P&L, or still trying to put it together. Truist Financial is $55 billion, not quite a market mover. So nothing really market moving today. All right, nothing that's really going to move the markets except for whatever happened in Taiwan Semiconductor. That could move the markets. We'll see what happens with that. All right, let's take a look at get the economic calendar. See what we got here for today. As you can see, past reports are being delayed, and this is due to the government shutdown. Okay, you can see jobless claims from that were due yesterday delayed. Okay, PPI final demand delayed. Retail sales delayed. You can see a lot of this data is delayed. Okay, now Wall Street does not like uncertainty. Okay, so there is a possibility. Okay, that price begins to melt or continues to melt while we're in this uncertainty due to the government shutdown. Okay, so this morning we can see housing starts and permits at 8:30. Okay, we're past 8:30, so this is delayed again. Import-export prices past 8:30, delayed again. Industrial production comes out at 9:15. We'll see if that one's delayed as well. And then a rig count at 1 o'clock. Okay, that's it for price action for today. And the dollar index closed today yesterday near 98.26. Still in an uptrend. Notice the higher high and we got a higher low and we made a higher high, so that puts us in an uptrend. Okay. All right, traders, that's it for me. Thank you, Alan. All right, so I'll see you guys in about 30 minutes, and we'll open up the markets and make a recording of it. All right. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys in about 30 minutes.